YouTube, what's going on? Hey man, I'm making this video to show y'all the true rates in trucking. Like a lot of guys, they come on my channel, they ask a lot of questions, and they talk about the rates that they're getting. Like I'll get guys from other companies. They'll come on my channel and they'll blur out something that's kind of it's irrelevant. It's like, I've been in this business 10 years, and y'all know that. You watch my videos. I started in trucking in January 2007. It's exactly 10 years this month. A couple days ago, it's actually exactly 10 years. So I started in trucking January 7th, 2007. Here's the deal. Like, it kind of goes back to my other video when I was telling y'all all these companies, they got the game like figured out. It's all a numbers game. All these companies pay the same money. It just depends on how you want to get it. For example, everybody know there's a company named Heartland Express. When I first got into trucking, I seen Heartland Express. They have some of the highest, their rates that they pay their drivers are high. On the back of their trailers, they're like, oh yeah, we pay our drivers 49, 55 cents a mile, right? Well, I talked to about a handful of their drivers, 2 or 3 of their drivers. Most of the time, these drivers never get more than 2,000 miles a week because they're sitting all the time. Okay? Yeah, you making 50 cents a mile, 55 cents a mile, but you ain't getting no more than 2,000 miles a week. Okay? Now I done had a handful of jobs in my trucking career. So when you get a job, it's not always about, okay, who paying the most per mile, who paying the most per week. It's a lot of information that goes into that equation. And after 10 years experience, I'm like, all these companies pay the same amount of money, man. It's a select few companies out there. You can find a couple that pay more than what the average company is paying. But if you running with a big name brand, big box, commercialized company, you're making the same money. The JB Hunts, the Schneiders, the Swifts, you're making the same amount of money. You might can get on with a small carrier, very small carrier with less than maybe 100 trucks or so that pays their drivers with some sense. They actually, honor their drivers and they pay them like they're supposed to be paid. But for the most part, you're going to be making no more money than the next guy. And so my point is, I don't want to rant on too much. My point is, I came on here just to show y'all, okay, you got the different types of mileage pay that companies pay you, right? Say one company pays zip code to zip code or Rand McNally miles, right? One company may pay practical miles where they pay you like additional 20 to 30 miles to go around the city. Okay? Then another company, they may pay you hard miles. They pay you the miles exactly off the speedometer off the truck. I know Walmart drivers did that. I was working for a company when earlier in my career. I pulled for a company that paid hard miles. It was a local company out of Georgia. I forgot the name of them. It was a small company. They had like 50 trucks. But they paid us hub miles. They paid us all the miles plus stops. So like whatever miles that we show on our log books, they paid us that. So we have to turn in, we did paper log. So when we turn in our paper log, they paid us whatever we logged on our log book at the end of the week. Yeah, so at Schneider on the choice board, they pay zip code to zip code mile, which is Rand McNally miles, right? So it's like, okay, now when I look at a load on the board, right? Say I see a load on the board that's going, let's say I see a load on the board that's going from Birmingham, Alabama to Dallas, Texas. All right. Birmingham, Alabama to Dallas, Texas. All right. Now when I look on the board, the load will say, the load would probably say, it's going to pay you 637 miles. Say the load paid $2 a mile. All right. Let me pull up my calculator. Hold on. Let me pull up my calculator. Computer acting up. Okay, 2 times 637. Now when you book a load on a board, now it doesn't have to do with Schneider. All these companies pay this. Okay. Now if you're running with a company that's paying you zip code to zip code, this is how they're gonna pay you. Now some companies pay you practical miles where they'll add additional 20, 30 miles depending on where you are, because the company where they book the freight from the customer, they're only going to pay from the nearest closest zip code to the zip code of that city. Okay. So the rate is $2 a mile times 637. That load is paying $1,274. All right. Now, depending on where you at, you might have to deadhead to that load to pick it up. The load is paying $1,274. Okay. Say you about 50 miles from that customer. Okay. Now you done added. Now you add it. Because like when you look on the board, it's going to tell you relatively how far you are from that customer. Like I booked a load, it'll say that I'm 20 miles from the customer. But then when I actually drive it and I look at the speedometer, the tack, and I get the hub miles off of there, it actually showed that I ran 60 miles to get to that customer. So you're going to add, I'm going to add 630. Hold on. 637 plus 50. Now the load is going to Dallas, right? The load is going to Dallas. Now they're paying you zip code to zip code. Now when you get to Dallas, Dallas is a big ass fucking city now, right? From that zip code to that zip code, there's a variance between, okay, what they actually paying you and what the truck actually drove. Okay. So the distance between that zip code and to actually where the actual customer is probably another, let's say another 50 miles. All right, go back. All right, 50 plus another 50. All right, now we got total miles vested in this load of 737 miles that we got to run to deliver this load. Remember that $2 a mile rate that we was looking at? Now our rate will drop. So what was that number? Hold on. 1274. Okay, you take 1274 divide, hold on, what was that number? 1274 divide 737. Now our rate drops to $1.72 a mile. You see what I'm saying? Just because we added 100 miles out of route, well, I don't want to say it's out of route, but these are the things you got to account for when you booking loads. So when I book a load, I automatically take off 10 to 15 cents off that rate on that board. Now, if you guys are booking loads from a broker, or you getting loads from a fleet manager or something like that, and he telling you to load, oh yeah, you on the phone with him, and it's like, oh yeah, the load is paying about $2 a mile. You better whip out your calculator, and you better jump on Google Maps and make sure he's telling you the truth. Now he telling you all this bullshit. You got a deadhead 60 miles to get the load, and then from actually where you at to where the load is going, there's another 50-mile variance between where they actually paying you and to actually where the load is going. So we're looking at what is that? Almost 27, 28 cents off. See how much the rate dropped just because we added 100 miles to that load out of route. Okay? And like, this is an easy one because Birmingham to Dallas, Texas is a straight shot. That's just I-20. Now, let me give you another example. I had a load a while back going from I forgot where that load was going. I think it's Johnson City, Tennessee. Johnson City, Tennessee. I think that load picked up in what that load picked up in? That load, yeah, I think that load picked up at somewhere in Greenville somewhere. Yeah, it picked up in Greer, South Carolina. All right, so let's look at Greer, South Carolina to Johnson City, Tennessee. All right. I don't think that was the load. Shoot, I forgot. I forgot where that load picked up at, but it was a prime example of what I'm talking about. And you experienced drivers know what I'm talking about, but I can tell a lot of very inexperienced drivers that want to get a truck, they come on my videos, they talk shit, it's just like, like you don't know anything about rates, man. You don't know how to book loads. You don't know how to be profitable for your truck. It's when you book your own loads, man, you got to be very careful, because a rate on a load will be so good, But then once you actually look at the map and run it, it's like, well, it may not be worth you running the damn load. You know what I mean? And the load was pretty heavy. The load was heavy. It was 40,000 pounds. Shit. All right, let me do this one. Let's say Greenville, Tennessee. Greenville, Tennessee. All right. So from Greenville, Tennessee, if you was in a car, you can probably do this. But in a truck with a 40,000 pound load, like, look at it. You know, with a 40,000 pound load in a truck going from Greer, South Carolina up to Greenville, Tennessee, I've seen loads on that board like this all the time. Right? Now it shows 116 miles. The rate on that load was, I think the rate on that load was like $4 a mile or something. I went ahead and booked it because it paid like, I think this was the exact load. The load paid 116 because the load actually paid 115 miles. Okay, the you know, times $4 a mile. Yeah, that load paid about 450, 460, something like that. So here's the load, right? $464 to go 116 miles. You look at the load on the board, that's like, wow, that's a great load. And then once I started digging into the load, I was like, yeah, that rate is good. But then actually I jumped on Google Maps and I clocked it. I'm like, yeah, because like what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to get on. See, like with Google Maps, you can pull this back like this. All right, and you're gonna have to get on 85 right here, get on 26, get on 40, then run up here and get on 81, then drop down to get to Greenville, Tennessee. All right, get on 40. All right, so now how many miles we looking at? Now we're looking at 186 miles for this load. All right, so now I'm gonna divide 464 divided by 186. Now the rate on this load drops to $2.49 a mile. A $4 a mile load dropped down to $2.49 a mile, which isn't bad still, but it's a 40,000 pound load going up I-26, going up to 40, getting on 81. Now anybody who been in trucking, that's a hell of a lane to run. But I ran it. My truck made it. My truck barely made it through that shit. I remember because my thermostat was redlining coming up that shit. But this truck is a beast. We made it though. It's a heavy ass load. I think the load about 43,000 pounds or some shit. But this truck is a beast. It made it. So now the rate is still pretty good. And anybody who run for Schneider, all the contractors or whatever, know that loads in this area this is kind of a dead area for freight on the load board. Okay, this is kind of a dead area. If you go up here, you're gonna have to deadhead 100 miles in any direction to get your next load, from my experience. And every time I done went up here, this Johnson City, Kingsport, Greenville, Tennessee area, this area right here, this lane up in here, always have to deadhead 100 miles to get the next load. And if it is a load coming out of there, but this ain't about that. So yeah, man, I just want to make this quick video, man. This is the truth of rates. This is the real shit when you got to deal with rates. When you see a load, anywhere you see a load, when you get a load from a broker, a customer, or whatever, you got to go back and pull out a calculator and clock this load and make sure that it's profitable for your truck. Because a lot of guys, they get on with these companies, right? And there's, you know, they'll be like, hey, yeah, I'm getting $2 a mile if I run with this company. You know, I'm not running that. Or you only get 65% of the gross revenue. Like, dude, it's all of the fucking numbers game, dude. It's all a numbers game. Like, a lot of those guys, when I hear them guys, you haven't been in trucking long enough to understand what I'm saying. It's all a numbers game. Because, like, you go over to another company, they're paying, 80% of the gross revenue, but you got a trailer rental fee, okay? You paying all the cargo insurance. You taking up all this risk, okay? You don't have a load board. So, like, you just taking loads from whatever the broker's telling you. You sitting there for 2 days and shit. I don't sit nowhere for no reason at all. The only time I sit is because I wanted to, because like if it's like under a hazardous weather or something like that, I made that choice. I don't sit because a broker don't give me no load. No, it's always loads on the board. Always. Some of the loads may be cheap, some of the loads may be paying good. It just depends. And that's trucking. Anywhere in trucking. Like for example, anybody who knows who runs this Texas East, hold on. Anybody who runs in trucking and book their own loads know that, okay, running Texas East have shitty rates. Okay, I've talked to guys, unless you got your own authority and you booking shipper direct, you can probably get a little bit better rate. But if you leased onto a carrier, the rates going east out of Texas don't pay shit. So what you have to do is you got to book loads. If you live in the east, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina, you got to book loads real good. The rate got to be real good coming in to the Texas area, right? Going from like, okay, like Atlanta to Dallas, and then you got to book a load up to Oklahoma City and back over, because the rates coming out of Dallas going up to Oklahoma City are relatively okay. They're okay rates. You know, booking a load out of Dallas going east, I-20, I-10, those loads don't pay nothing. They're like 80 cents a mile. It's like loads coming out of Florida. So what you have to do is you got to book a load going north or even further west. You have to book a load north, then come over. Or you have to book a load like from Dallas, like up to Missouri, or a load going up to like Arkansas or something, or Memphis, or St. Louis or some shit, and then come down. And that's trucking. I've talked to guys at other companies, and it's the same shit. That's just trucking. It's just some things you just gonna have to deal with in trucking. It have nothing to do with Schneider load board. It don't have. So when I hear guys talk about, oh yeah, I'm getting $2 a mile when I'm leased on to this company, bullshit. Unless they're paying you all the miles off the hub, we all making the same amount of money. Once you done deadhead to the load and got fuel and ran around town, you done got lost and shit and all this shit, you done burnt fuel and shit, that $2 a mile load now is $1.60, $1.50, $1.70, you know? And that's the truth for trucking. So anyway, man, I appreciate y'all watching my videos, man. I'll see y'all next time, man.